Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of KAMEN KAIZERS. I am your host, Chris Eaton, and joining me, as always, is
Arian Hosa. I said it this time.
Yeah, there you go. Now, see, again, it's only episode 5. We're getting the groove. We're getting the groove.
Boy, do we have a good one for you tonight, guys.
That we do. Especially, we needed a palate cleanser after last week's batty, nutty,
buddy,
beautifully brilliant episode.
I went back and saw the movie again to make sure that I saw with the same thing. That I'm pretty, because it felt the day after we recorded that, it felt like a fever dream of did that really? That really did happen. But that tells you.
Did you watch the Cantonese version?
No, hell no. I watched the American.
Okay.
Hell no.
So hopefully you guys listened to that last episode where we covered the 7th curse, because we went deep diving on that sumbitch.
That movie was 80 minutes long, and we talked about it for 2 hours.
Yes. Well, you talk about high class cinema, man. You have to deep dive. So
Yes.
Today's episode, we are doing in honor of the upcoming release of Shin Kamen Rider in Japan, of which Arian will be there when it comes out.
I will be there.
So maybe we might do just when he comes back, because we're pre-recording these while by the time you hear this, he will be in Japan. So by the time he comes back, maybe we'll have just a quickie, gentle, review if he gets time to go see it. So
yeah, absolutely.
But on that note, to honor the release of Shin Kamen Rider, we are looking back at the first major live-action film. I say first major live-action film because he actually did one teeny tiny little indie film before this. But this is the first time Hideaki Anno, the great Hideaki Anno, master, legend in the anime industry, got to really sink his teeth into something in the live-action realm. And you know what? It's been about 4 years. I think I last watched this when Shin Godzilla came out, so it's been a little longer than that. But oh, what a treat. I forgot how much I adore the hell out of this film. So the film today is none other than Hideaki Anno's take on the Go Nagai classic that is Cutie Honey. So real quick, Arian, you've seen this one already before, right?
It's been over 10 years since I've seen this version, yes.
Okay. And that's a lot of people I talk to. They have not watched it. And that's the thing I've found, that a lot of people don't remember it as well because they all kind of watched it when it came out and they never went back. And I feel that that's a shame with this movie because I have a deep, passionate love for this movie, and rewatching it the other day for this just reaffirmed it, because there's a lot of things that I saw that I'm like, oh man, I forgot how well paced this movie is. And there's a lot of little things we'll get into, but I'll say this: it does reaffirm my belief that animators can direct fantastic live action movies by porting over those techniques that they use in animation. And I'll delve into that in a little bit. So this came out in 2004. It's approaching 20 years already. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
I know. Again, the gray, it's coming in now. It's just, my hair got more gray just saying that.
2004. So this is as old as Final Wars. And wow, that was the new back then.
Yep.
That's to me, that's still new.
Yes. So, excuse me. Got a little dry throat going on here. So if you hear me sniffing and coughing, that's that. And I apologize ahead of time. So, Anno, at this point, known for Neon Genesis Evangelion, known for Gunbuster, known for his work in anime. Evangelion is done at this point. It is now a cultural phenomenon and what I call the New Testament of
That's a great
pop
way
culture.
To put it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But and not only that, but I put it this way because the Old Testament, especially in the giant robot genre, would be the works of one Go Nagai, the creator, arguably the creator of the super robot genre. And I say that as people can fight me on that, but I defend that title. Great at Mazinger. Mazinger really started the super robot role. It actually was the first one to actually have the pilot inside the robot too in Japan. So that was a big deal. So a little backstory: Anno is a gigantic nerd. He is also a passionate fan of Go Nagai. So him getting a crack at arguably Go's most mainstream, how do I put this?
Easily accessible.
Easily, accessible. I think the three titles of his are Cutie Honey, Devilman, and Mazinger. Those are his three most accessible works. And with Cutie Honey, really late, if you read the manga, the original manga, which by the way doesn't really have a proper ending, is very heavy on a lot of lewd stuff. It's in the humor. And other versions, like the cartoon versions, would admit some of that, and then the OVAs would come back and really get into it. So here he's found a happy medium, and not only that, but at the same time, it is a delightful love letter to arguably all things Sentai. Especially rewatching this, because it feels like he made a gigantic Sentai film.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So let's get cracking. I got my notes right here. So this movie starts with our main character.
Oh, right.
So our main character, Honey, her name's so makes no bones about it. She's sitting in a bathtub, very beautiful girl. And by the way, again, nerdy on is her phone rings. And Arian, what was the ringtone on that?
It was Ghidorah's.
You remember?
Or wasn't it?
So it was, which is okay. So it's a message that her uncle had kidnapped by a terrorist organization, and she must make haste in the most poppy, blissfully cute way that you can. But because this is the thing of Cutie Honey, she's a choker, and it's got a little on it, and when she pushes it, it yells Honey Flash. She can transform to various different, not forms, but it's like a cosplay thing. Kind of like Sailor Moon, if Sailor Moon could change into 20 or an infinite amount of roles. And each one of these costumes gives her the ability of it. So if, say, she becomes a biker, she automatically becomes a skilled biker. She becomes a sous chef. She becomes automatically a great sous chef. It's a little detective, a little Inspector Gadget, little of everything put together. But can't transform. Standing there in the buff, realizes she needs to eat. So we get this delightful cartoonish sequence of this adorable girl running through. And I don't, my girl, like a 20, the actress here is like 21 years old, so she's just adorable in her mannerisms. So puts on a trash bag, books in the street. In one of the quick cut scenes, she just grabs these, I believe they're called,
rice balls.
Essentially rice balls.
But
rice balls and green tea.
But if you've seen Pokemon as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
you know those are called jelly donuts. And I laughed my ass off on the side. It's like, oh, jelly donuts.
Yeah, I forgot when Brock makes them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but let's talk about
looking through the street.
Hold on, let's talk about this beautiful shot, this money shot of Family Mart. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like, do you know if this thing was co-produced by Family Mart, or because there are so many shots of Family Mart product throughout this movie?
Well, this was a major studio. This is a Warner Brothers Japan production, so I'm assuming there were some. Yes, so I'm assuming there were some. Oh God, what am I bringing on? Probably placement in there.
Got it.
So I don't doubt that they probably had some tie-ins as well when the movie came out.
Right.
So pounds green tea, eats these rice balls, and then tosses everything into the trash, like a good hero should. Tosses her trash bag. So now she's running her underwear down the street. This beautiful shot. The camera's following her. Everyone is like, as she's passing people, they lean in like, what the hell is going on? They're just seeing this young girl, or I kind of keep saying young. There's this young woman running through the street, and in her underwear, of which then she hits her choker and yells "Honey Flash." We see this beautiful flash. Smack cut to this little peninsula, this facility. There's about 500 cops.
But this peninsula is very, very familiar for you Godzilla fans. This is the Aqua Line from Shin Godzilla, right where at the beginning of Shin Godzilla is the Aqua Line where there's an explosion. So you'll recognize that, but you'll also recognize some more faces later on.
Mm-hmm. Well, which we're introduced to one of them. That is the introduction of our second protagonist, Natsuko, the hardened police, or Nachan as she's known, the hardened police officer, and comes in with no nonsense, wearing the glasses, hair in a tight ponytail, all business, very strict to her subordinates, and again, the way this whole thing is shot, it is, I dare to say, manic, because it's a lot of cutting, but you're never lost in what's going on. And this is where what I'm saying, this is when animation directors really get their hands on something in live action. They shoot like they're animating. Like, you have to cover your bases. Like, everything felt really boarded out here and laid out to the most infinite degree. And this is where we're introduced to Gold Claw, one of the 4 generals of Panther Claw, our villainous organization of this story. And she has Professor Usagi next to her, which we find out is Cutie's uncle, or Honey's uncle. I keep saying Honey. Cutie's her other. That's her other persona. So, a giant standoff with the cops. Nakutsu is not taking any crap. She says they got the place surrounded, when it turns out, no, that is not the case. Turns out the other cops on the other side, covering Gold Claw, are really Panther Claw agents in disguise. Beautiful costumes. Just throw them off, and they are in classic 70s anime like goon gear, like black mask, fedoras, well-dressed suits, all got guns, and again, there's just this weird Mexican standoff between the two, and with Gold Claw I have the upper advantage. It's like Obi-Wan telling, I have the high ground. But it is not for naught, because things go haywire quick and gunfire erupts between the police and the Panther Claw goons, of which Natsuko looks like she's in the crossfire. But it's not true. She gets picked up by a mysterious stranger in a biker outfit, and it's Honey. So she tells Natsuko, wait here, I will take care of this. And she goes to handle something. In a very comedic scene, now we got the standoff between Natsuko and Gold Claw yelling at each other with megaphones. Like, they are within 20 feet of each other. The cartoonishness of this movie is brilliant. So Professor Usagi disappears for a second, and then there's a chase that ensues. Panther Claw manages to recapture him, and it turns out Natsuko says, hey, give it up, Gold Claw, we have the professor. And she turns, it's like, wait, what? He's standing right here. But it is not the professor. It is, upon closer look, it is our heroine, Honey, dressed as the professor in beautiful cosplay. And Gold Claw is aghast to find, how can this be? And that's when we get the introduction that normally comes with Cutie Honey. So, whenever Honey gets ready to transform into her lovely warrior form, she tells her villain that she's facing, sometimes I'm a police officer. Sometimes I am a street biker. Sometimes I'm a master chef. But who am I really? Which goes right into beautiful credits. Done by not Studio Car,
Trigger?
Gainax. This was Gainax because, and I say this because there is a 3-part OVA that essentially recaps the film, but done in animation style that Anno directed one of the episodes. It's actually getting finally an American release out here, but it is absolutely gorgeous. It's online, so you can watch it. But the opening of this movie recreates the actual opening of the Cutie Honey show with just that slight touch of the perverted humor that you want, but just, not enough to make it not, R-rated, just PG-13, because that is part of the fun of Cutie Honey. Beautiful animation where she transforms into her lovely warrior form. Short red hair, armor, her sword, and what unfolds next is probably one of the greatest cartoonishly violent fight scenes you'll ever see in a movie. And this is where Anno's animation background comes in. Now, this movie was not on a very large budget. I think it's only like a $3 or $4 million film. But he takes his animation knowledge and creates a beautiful fight sequence. And yes, this is a 20-year-old film. Some of the effects are a little dated, but it has ironically, so much heart to it. So, Gold Claw, Cutie Honey, throw down. Everything is in chaos. Honey, and by the way, so when Honey transforms, so when she's in her normal Honey form, she has this very very, cute, ironically cutesy voice. Like she's very, how would you say it?
She looks like she is in a different movie.
Yes.
She looks like she is a part of a different. She's everybody is playing this right, but Cutie Honey is, not in a bad way, but very, very fish out of water.
Yes.
Yeah.
When she becomes Cutie Honey, her demeanor changes. She becomes confident. She actually changes her voice, much like 2 years later or a year later, the great Christian Bale will change his voice when he becomes Batman. But it's not as egregious. It's but there's confidence. It's a lower octave, and an insane. She sounds like an adult. Yes, she actually sounds like an adult, and this insane battle, it's just frantic action goes on. To the point, Honey gets the upper hand, and Gold Claw cannot stand it. She's losing, so she fires off a volley of missiles that come from her wrist with seems to be an unlimited amount of ammo inside a wrist rocket looking device. There's no way in hell, even if just the mechanism alone, but it's anime logic. And that is what is at work here, because this is really laying the ground of do not take this movie serious. We are here to have fun. And that's what it does offer. So Gold Claw manages to capture the professor one more time, and she starts taking off by spinning her ponytail like a helicopter. Again, cartoonish to the nth degree. And she's getting away, laughing at her opponent, when Honey's like, we're not doing this. Throws her honey boomerang, cuts off Gold Claw's ponytail. She falls into the ocean. They recapture the professor, and everyone is happy, except for our weathered police officer Natsuko. She's not having any of this. She's by the book. She does not care for vigilantism, so she arrests Honey. And that is when we are introduced to the third lead of our film, dashing reporter Shinji, who kind of comes in and he's like, hey, this is breaking a few laws. You can't just arrest people. And, of course, Natsuko's like, well, you're under arrest now, too, for crossing over a police line.
Sure.
Shinji, so...
How do you describe his look?
His look is what a 70s Japanese detective movie would look like.
Have you ever seen Tiger and Bunny?
I've only seen bits. I've never watched the whole thing.
He looks like the main character from Tiger and Bunny, from the head up. The what are they called? The newspaper boy, the hat, and the hair sticking out. He's got a black turtleneck. He's got a light blue. He looks very 70s. Again, very out of place for what 2004.
Yes. Just bright color. Again, this movie actually has a lot in common with the Wachowski brothers' Speed Racer. Just the aesthetic. Yeah, you see it, don't you?
Yeah.
So,
Great movie.
oh, fantastic. Oh, I love Speed Racer. Much as I love this movie. So, Shinji and Honey manage to get away, leaving Natsuko holding the pieces of this botched standoff. We find out that Shinji is after he's after a scoop, and he wants to keep in touch with Honey, and he adds on that he knows a little more than even us audience members know. Like he's in the know, and as he says, I'm a reporter. It is my job to know. So we jump forward to see what Honey's life is actually like. She works in an office, very reminiscent of aggressive Retsuko.
Yeah.
She's the office girl. She's at the bottom of the barrel. She's late to work because she was off doing superheroics. No one in her office appreciates her. She has no friends, but she's just this bubbly personality and is always happy, which is to the to the detriment of her fellow office workers, especially the women. They don't like her because too bubbly, probably too pretty, and just too kind of ditzy.
Hey Chris, who's the boss in the office?
The boss in the office. Let me see if I could find who that was.
Not who's the manager, if you will.
Let me see here.
Does he have a name? Do they give him a name?
He didn't have a name. Which one are you talking about? The one that is always complaining about her showing up, or the actual boss?
The one who's always complaining about her showing up late.
I'm gonna pull that up right now. Oh man, get the IMDb here. Let me see here. Great pod, by the way. We have to stop to find out. Again, making notes. Who is that? What have you seen him in? Because I know you're bringing him up for a reason.
He's the director of Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Wait, that's not. No. That is,
no way.
Not, wait, no.
Pretty sure that is.
Wait, are you sure? Let me see here. That can't be Tsukamoto. I don't believe that's Tsukamoto. Anno is in that office.
We gotta find this out. What's his name?
Tsukamoto.
Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Yeah.
Directed by Shinya Tsukamoto.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's not.
I don't think that's him. Yeah, I'm just like, wait a minute, I don't think that's Tsukamoto. To be fair, I forgot he was in Ichi to Kill Her until I rewatched it recently. But to be fair, I hadn't watched Ichi to Kill Her in forever, and I'm used to seeing Tsukamoto older, and he was much younger in that movie.
Well, you can edit this part out.
Yes, I can edit that part out. So, Honey is left pretty much as the kicking mule in the office. Her only slight friend there is the woman who takes care of who's the janitor. Encourages her to go make some friends, go out there, get yourself out there. And pretty much she's like, yeah, maybe I'll give it a try. Natsuko, we get to Natsuko getting just completely reamed about everything in the failure of the mission. She's given one more chance by her superiors, of which she takes the responsibility for the failure of the mission, with full stats, because that's the person she is. But it also just makes her much more angry. So we are now introduced to the terrorist organization that is Panther Claw. And it's 4 generals. We've already met, which was Gold Claw. There is Scarlet Claw, who is a kabuki actor. There is there's what was it? Gold Claw, Cobalt Claw, which was the she's the one with the that can manipulate her arms. She wears like this leathery outfit. It's very SMN. And there's Black Claw, which is this very androgynous dude.
Let's talk about Black Claw for a second.
Let's talk about Black Claw.
His look is something that would be, how do I put this, slightly racially
problematic today.
Problematic is a very good way to put it.
That's the thing. Japan does not care.
That's the hilarious part, right? But the thing is, he's something I see a lot of Go Nagai's work is half and half.
Yes.
Black Claw is half blackface, half whiteface. Like that's the best way I can put it. Singer,
but it's not like
singer.
But it also changes throughout the movie. Like the patterns change at times. Is that towards the end when we get there, like the white is like now it's like checkered. So and they are the subordinates of the leader of Panther Claw, which is Sister Jill. Sister Jill, also this very androgynous creature who sits on this platform.
Was Sister Jill played by a man? And the butler was played by a woman?
No. Played by a woman, voiced by a man.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. That is very, Anno plays with a lot of tropes here. And again, the costume design, everything feels like a leap out of like a 70s anime. Like, it is he's watching greatly to the source material. Like, there's a lot of Go's classic designs in these characters. Like, he kept them as faithful as possible. And we find out the mechanization of Panther Claw. Sister Jill wants immortality because she wants to rule the world indefinitely. Right now, they're only doing so much. The generals go, well, here's what we've done. They have been kidnapping young women throughout the country for some time now, to the point that even the police are like, there's been a rash of serial kidnappings of young women. We find out that underneath Panther Claw's headquarters is this vast, open, just, containment unit of these young women sitting in these kind of like these little tub things. And this is where Sister Jill, she milks their life force from them to keep herself young. We find out that Panther Claw's entire headquarters is just this massive drill-looking thing that is underground. And they have a army of 100,000 soldiers ready to go. And we all see this all laid out like on this big screen thing. But the thing that Sister Jill really wants, the thing that she's after is this brand new eye system that is a elusive system. It's a technology that was created by a brilliant scientist that they inadvertently assassinated a year prior. And the professor that they were trying to capture was his apprentice and was continuing his work. And this system plays a big role as we move in. So now they're like, well, we got to go re-kidnap the professor, with Gold Claw begging for forgiveness for her failure in her mission. So, smash cut to Honey back in the tub, realizing, kind of wondering, because this is the first time she's introduced to Panther Claw. It feels like this is the first time that everyone is introduced to Panther Claw. They're making their self known to the world. Even though somehow they've recruited a gigantic army of people. She gets a call from her uncle, the professor that she saved. Turns out, no, he's been kidnapped once more. And now Honey must get to the bottom of it. So what does she do? She transforms and goes to the police station because she has no one else to help her. And when she is Honey, when she's just normal Honey, she's very aloof and unsure of herself. So thinks like, well, maybe I can go undercover in the police station and get some answers. Uh-oh. 30 minutes. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, you froze for a minute.
Oh.
So, who does Honey disguise herself as when she infiltrates the police station?
It's Nutshot.
Yep. Which she's trying to get to the bottom of this kidnapping, and none of the cops want to help her because she also realizes that, well, Nachan is not really liked by anybody else in the station. Similar parallels to our two main heroines here. Funny, there's a common ground. And as Honey is getting frustrated because no one wants to help her, who but arrives? Shinji. And again, we smash cut to this corridor underneath. It looks like it's underneath the police station. And Shinji and Honey are having a conversation, but they're doing it on segways. Just the way
That's
moving is weird. This is the thing. This is what animators do. When you have to have moments of like laying out dialogue and, just explaining things, you always have to make something, you have to make it interesting. Something's got to be going on. And I don't know if it probably felt better than the two of them walking. We'll have them on segways, just having these little conversations. With Shinji revealing he knows a lot about Honey and her little choker that contains the ice system on it, which we find out he is very well versed in the coming and goings of many scientists. As he says, I'm a reporter. So he says he'll help Honey on one condition, and she thinks, oh, he's going to be perfect. No, just one thing. Just one thing. And that's an exclusive interview because the reporter and him still needs to get the scoop. While these two are talking, out of nowhere, Nat-chan shows up on her bike, by the way, and stopped everything. Realizing that Shinji realizes, well, here, we have a situation on our hands. Maybe the three of us can work together, of which Honey's more than willing to, but Natsuko is not, because she goes by the book. So that leaves our heroes to part ways once again. Now Honey having to figure out what to do. But Natsuko's not letting this go. She wants to know what the connection between this Honey girl is and this magical warrior showed up. So she starts trailing her, which leads Honey back to the office. That once again, she's late. And Natsuko corners her, asking her a million questions, of which Honey is plays dumb, but not at the same time is also kind of naive. It's the person. Again, I gotta give full credit to this actress. I get it right here. Eriko Sato, who was a model when she got this role, actually does brilliant. She actually does capture the spirit of the actual character very well. Because Honey's kind of, at times, ditzy, and at other times, she's the smartest person in the room. And especially when she's changing between various outfits and characters, like, she goes all in. And playing, like, she feels like an actual anime girl leapt out of a screen and was being filmed by a real camera. Like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So... while Natsuko is cornering her in her office, the other office employee, the other women in the office are having a discussion. We come on to the one office worker who does not like Honey at all, and she's being dumped by her boyfriend, which we find out is being set up because this is where the second general of the Panther Claw shows up, which is Cobalt Claw, and kidnaps this poor woman after she had been dumped by her boyfriend. Natsuko takes Honey to the bathroom so they can speak privately, which she's asking her 20 questions, like, who's that girl? How is she connected to you? How are you connected to Shinji? And it's, again, the way this is shot, they're in a stall. The camera moves from right on Natsuko, gun in Honey's face with, like, the anime, like, cross-eyed, like, the comedy is is thick and rich, but it's also very earnest. And it's a million miles. It's Anno's million-mile-a-minute dialogue. Because if you've ever watched Shin Godzilla, you know how fast everyone talks. Because he writes for anime and it translates. I don't think there's, well, there is, but for the most part, there's not a lot of like quiet moments in this movie.
No.
This movie is constantly moving. So while they're having a discussion, something crawls across the ceiling, and we see this almost Ring-esque like woman crawling on the ceiling, which they both look up very comedically, almost like a Scooby-Doo cartoon, and they are attacked by a woman who turns out is one of his coworkers. Now her face has got all of these weird markings on it. Her skin's all kind of floppy. Something's off. Not just the fact that she's crawling on the ceiling. So a chase ensues. Honey grabs Natsuko and drags her behind her at superhuman speed, while Natsuko is firing while she's being dragged at this woman who's attacking them from the ceiling. Again, pure comedy. They jump into an elevator and they think they got away, but it turns out, no. Cobalt Claw is right on them. Breaks in through the top of the elevator. At this point, Shinji calls Natsuko, asks what's going on, because he has a hunch something's up. That's how he is. He's got a hunch. Completely tells, she's screaming that they're being attacked. So Honey transforms into her lovely warrior form. Now Natsuko's like, wait, you and the girl you and this warrior girl are one and the same. And an elevator fight ensues with Cobalt, who tears off the skin of Honey's coworker like it was a suit to reveal her dominatrix style look, and unzips like 2 pouches on the back, which more arms come out. And so now we have a close quarter fight. Natsuko corner, like towering in the corner with her gun trained on everybody. Honey, realizing that she has to do something, starts fighting with Cobalt Claw, admitting that Panther Claw was the one behind her father's death, which enrages her. So the only thing she can do, because she can't really use any of her other weapons since it's close quarters, she grabs Cobalt Claw in a bear hug, and her choker, the heart on her choker opens up, and you see a counter go down, and her Honey starts heating up, like she starts glowing. And what she's doing is that she's enacting the ice system to just generate massive amounts of heat from her body, and starts burning Cobalt Claw to death, of which you hear Shinji on the other line saying to Natsuko, you gotta stop it, otherwise she's going to die. And again, Natsuko's like, I know all this. He's like, I'll explain it later. Just make sure that she doesn't kill herself. With Honey realizing like she's in full emotional distress because she now has answers to many questions, and we're starting to peel back the onion that is Honey in her life, because she's been making mentions. She mentions to like her boss, like, I'm sorry, I've only been reborn for a year, and they're like, they just chalk it up to her being ditzy and weird. So Honey manages to defeat Cobalt Claw by burning her to death. The elevator door opens. Shinji arrives, tells Natsuko, like, you got to get out of here because, what she just did was very dangerous. She needs to recoup. So Shinji takes off because he's got other stuff to do, and leaving Natsuko to hold to once again pick up the pieces. So we cut to Panther Claw, who now realize that Honey has the ice system that Sister Jill wants, and that their new target now is to get Honey to come to them. So they have to figure out a way to defeat her. And it's around this time that we see why Sister Jill's so desperate for this ice system, because she wants immortality. She raises her hand, and it's, how would you describe it?
It looks like a tree, like a tree branch. Yeah.
And she's actually on this podium that looks like she's kind of like a big tree. Like the way she's on this podium, it kind of it branches out to the ground because she's around like this moat looking thing. And so we see what she actually does with the captive women underground. She initiates like this device, and you see the women like in this corridor. They start like glowing red, and all this energy goes up and into Sister Jill, which completely heals her hand. But she realizes she can't keep doing this because it's like Ra's al Ghul. Or wait, no, it's Ra's al Ghul, not Ra's al Ghul. Just say it proper. Otherwise, I'm gonna get crap from a lot of people. Ra's al Ghul. And the Lazarus Pit. But the thing is, you can only use it so many times before the effects start, wearing off. So this eye system is the key to her immortality. And this is where we jump into the backstory of everything. Honey wakes up and she's in Natsuko's apartment. Which, how would you describe this apartment?
Minimal. There's a lot of empty beer bottles. She has all her clothes hanging up. They're all black shirts. There's a bunch of dead flowers. The most interesting part of the apartment is the bed is in the middle of the room, like an island. It's like, oh, that looks kind of nice.
So Honey wakes up. She realizes Natsuko. Oh, you care? It's like, where am I? She's like, I'm in my apartment. And she's like, I can tell her, believe me, I did not want to bring you here. But we get to see, again, the similarities between Honey and Natsuko. They are destined to be the best of friends. Because they're both friendless women. They're both young. And they both take what they do very seriously. But at the cost of, a social life, if you will. Especially with Natsuko, she's like Honey's around again, all played off as comedy. When she notices the dead flowers, she's like, "Oh, those are nice," of which Natsuko's not having any. She's like, "Look, just cut it." And comedy. Tell me about that thing on your neck. And Honey goes, "I don't talk about it." And what did she do?
She pokes it
and begins to do.
What?
Honey says she doesn't like to talk about, what the thing on her neck is. And what does she immediately do?
She pokes it, doesn't she?
She pokes it and she begins to talk about it.
Oh, right.
It's that, again, the little comedic timings in this. Which we get now, our second, we get a flashback, and it's all animated. Beautiful animation done by Studio Gainax. And we get the backstory of Honey. She explains that she was the daughter of Professor Katsuri. I believe it's Katsuri. And she was in a horrific accident a year ago. And Katsuri, distraught, sought to rebuild his daughter. And explains that he injected her nanomachines which is powered by the choker around her neck. That's what regulates it. Which Natsuko realizes, so you're an android. She's like, yeah, more or less. While she's like, Natsuko's pinching her cheeks, trying to are you really real? Again, in an adorable moment where Honey's like, yeah, she continues talking as her cheeks are being pinched. This, again, charming moments sprinkled throughout this movie. Which Natsuko now has to take all this in. She's like, all right, this is a lot, but now I understand why, Panther Claw's after everything. This, in a weird way, it all makes sense. So she lets Honey stay there, wakes up the next morning. Honey's in this big flowing white dress. The apartment is bright as hell. And magically, all of Natsuko's flowers have completely blossomed into these just gigantic dahlias and everything. And she's good. They bloom. Natsuko doesn't want any part of this because she's not down with it. So we smash cut to Natsuko going back to the police station. She's bumbled again. She's been taken off of the case and assigned to the serial kidnapper case about the woman, which we now know is because of the clock. Distraught about this, Natsuko is like, all right, fine, whatever. Like, she turns in her gun, does the whole thing. It's like, I don't want any part of this anymore. Like, I'm leaving. Hangs it up. This is where we get a call from Shinji, who tells Honey, I need you to meet me at this location. And turns out, like, it's this very swanky looking hotel where he sits down with her and explains, like, yes, I know all about your father. I know all about your uncle. I know all about the I system because I'm a great reporter. I'm also working for someone who has vested interest in this technology as well. But he, being the good reporter that he is, he does not want it to fall into the wrong hands. Even though we find that, like, he's playing various sides, which we find out turns out to be the U.S. government, who are also interested in this. Yeah.
Later on, but yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So this is where we get the big moment of everyone coming together, where we have this this wonderful sequence of Natsuko being called there by Shinji as well, and they're all kind of realizing they're at an impasse. They need to figure out something to do. So what do they decide to do, Arian?
They sing karaoke and get drunk. In that order. Don't ask me. Don't ask me what they were singing. Don't ask me what. But what I took away from the scene is Cutie and what's her name? Anachan can drink.
Anachan, yeah.
They can drink. And
yes.
They can put away those drinks without a problem.
So wake up the next morning. Hungover. Oh, completely hungover. Honey's kind of like browsing around the room, and she opens a door, which she's like, wait, don't go there. And turns out he's really keeping an eye on Honey because he has this creepy, almost 7, from outside of 7, just wall to wall of her, of various photographs of her in various poses and compromising positions, but also in her various different, her different personas, of which she's like, wow. And by the way, Honey is like not even like, hey, you're being weird. She's like, oh, you really, like, it's this innocence of her. She's like, oh, I guess you really do have an interest in me. Like, nuts. Where Natsuko's like, Shinji, you're such a pervert. And he's like, what do you want me to do? So Honey has to have she decides, Natsuko doesn't want to really work with them. And Shinji's trying them all to come together. Doesn't really pan out. So Honey has to she's like, I'll do it on my own. Which we get this very extended sequence of Honey trying to figure out who she is. It's like 4.5 minutes long of her walking around town, and all it feels like is that Anno is like, I have a very beautiful woman, I have a lot of costumes to put her in, and this is what we're going to do. And it's just it's like almost like a model shoot of Honey walking around the hour in different outfits in different locations. And it just, I dare to use the word masturbatory in the royal sense, not in the literal sense, because the scene goes on for a long time.
It looks like it looks like Anno was like, oh, let's go to my favorite part of town. Oh, let's go to this eye in this one station that we've seen every tokusatsu show. All while she's wearing very colorful, very interesting. None of them really, like, one is a kimono, one of them is like like she's gonna go running, and it's like, I don't really understand it's interesting.
Yes, it's also probably one I would argue, because when I talk to people about this movie, here are the things they remember. They remember that, kinetic, frantic opening. That opening is just something out of a cartoon. And then when you ask them, like, well, how was the rest of the movie? They're like, oh, yeah, kind of slowed down, because now the movie say, like, is this going to be it the whole time? And no, but yes. at the same time, because the movie never really, like, the camera is constantly moving. Like the way Anno shoots sequence of people coming into rooms, talking to each other, like, it's always quick cutting. And when I say that, I don't mean it in like a bad, like, choppy way, like kind of like how the Bourne movies were just kind of chopped together to make it look. It all flows, and it flows like animation. Like you're never not like, I have no idea what's going on. Like at all times, I know what's going on. Except for the scene right here. This sequence felt like you have to write a 5-page essay, and you only got about 3 pages worth of material. So you got to pad the essay. So you just start kind of rewriting certain paragraphs just in order to fill. And that's exactly, it felt like we need a 90-minute movie. We're clocking in at like 81 minutes, so we need something to pad that out. Let's just have this beautiful sequence of her walking around, looking dour but very pretty, in various outfits. Yeah. So the movie does kind of come to a standstill at this point. But once it comes out of it, then like it feels like it's like, I need to take a break. Let me catch my breath. All right, let's start running again. Now we're entering to the home stretch of Panther Claw's, big move. So Sister Jill needs Honey to come to them because now she wants to get the eye system from her. So they enact a plan to get them to come. So Honey goes back to Shinji's place, and it turns out Natsuko had been kidnapped, or at least they thought, by Panther Claw. And pretty much they are getting, like, their phone, Shinji's phone, his TV, and his computer have all been hacked by Panther Claw. Sister Jill's personal assistant is very, how do I put this? How would you describe this dude?
He's a butler, or she's a butler. I'm not 100%.
Yes. Again, very androgynous.
Very interesting hairstyle and very interesting. The butler's got like a Waluigi mustache going on.
Yes. That's how you know he's evil.
Very squirrely looking dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's got he's a very squirrely looking guy. Clearly, like, you look at him and like, I don't trust him at all. At all.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are.
So now they have to go rescue Natsuko. So I'm getting something mixed up here. So they end up going to go rescue her. They end up getting her back. Yeah.
No. Before they rescue her.
Yeah.
Cutie Honey. First of all, they drill through Tokyo Tower.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is where it all comes in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes. So Panther Claw's headquarters, they make their presence. They arise out of Tokyo. They arise from under Tokyo Tower, which Tokyo Tower managed to perfectly stay balanced on top of this gigantic, it's like 300-story monolith that just comes out of the ground, and it creates they create like a big bridge. So now Panther Claw has made themselves known. Sister Jill now enacts her generals. So they're down Cobalt Claw. Gold Claw offers to redeem herself by taking on Cutie Honey, which turns out Sister Jill was like, no, you already failed me once. And much like Mr. Burns with his trapdoor, sends Cobalt Claw down to some sort of dungeonous basement, to which Scarlet Claw and Black Claw are like, well, that's what you get for being a failure. There is no failure in Panther Claw. So they go. Why am I getting this? I just watched this. So they get Natsuko back. There is but the fight is still on because now they have the professor. So Honey and Natsuko and Shinji all create a master plan to get into Panther Claw and into the headquarters and take them down, with getting the professor out of there too. So this is great little sequence between Natsuko and Honey where they've dressed up in these elaborate Asian cocktail dresses. With Honey wearing this like very, like very long red one. Natsuko's in a white like dress with her long pigtails, like her hair's down. Honey's hair is completely. It looks like a 3-year-old did her hair. So we get this moment of Natsuko fixing Honey's hair, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're really good at this." And Natsuko says, "I'm good at everything because I am disciplined." So again, get this moment of like getting deeper into Natsuko's personality. She realizes, that Honey realizes that she puts up this front because she does not want anybody to get in. Even the glasses that she wears are pretty much, they're not prescription. They don't really work. They're just there as like a cover, a persona, if you will. And Honey kind of tells her, it's like, you should embrace yourself, much as she's gone and found herself. Embrace yourself. You don't need to wear the glasses, even though you look cute with the glasses. So she was like, I will consider it. And thus we start the final chapter, or the final act of this film, which goes into full anime mode at this point. Honey arrives atop of this building where she's told to meet Panther Claw. She is a gigantic bridge is built from this tower to Panther Claw's tower, and she is greeted by the butler, who tells her to simply just, surrender, and maybe we'll let your uncle go. And she's like, well, how do I know you still got him? And rising like a kaiju, very Ultraman-ish, her uncle arises like 40 stories tall. And they tell her, look, we have stolen the technology out of your uncle's head already. We've sucked it out of his brain, and we have wiped his memory. He has no idea who you are. But she pleads with him, and it turns out that in any case, Arian, love conquers all. And he recognizes Honey.
This part of the movie was like, what? Because, Uncle grows, 50 meters? I don't know how tall Tokyo Tower is.
Mm-hmm.
Hands over something to Cutie Honey, and then just
it was turns a watch, into her dad's watch.
Turns into a giant curly fry and goes up in the sky. And I'm like, what?
So I think he was a projection. I think that's what they were doing. That's what I gathered from it. I think he was being projected out there, or he actually might have been giant, and they just have weird technology. They can do these things. This is all cartoon logic at this point. Mm-hmm.
Then we get this.
So
really, So then, they cross the bridge, and who meets them? It's Scarlet Claw herself. And this part's really cool, in my opinion. She throws this flame ball, but the way she does it, she like opens she turns into like a robot for a second, and then she just like blows off this flame, and then it goes right through the building behind Cutie Honey, which I think is the office she works at.
Building.
Yeah.
Yep. And 2 other buildings behind it, by the way.
Right. There's a quick little scuffle. Cutie gets upper hand on Scarlet Claw, but doesn't defeat her.
No.
She runs away. And then she runs into the man of the hour, Black Claw.
Yep.
He goes into this little song and dance, and he says, "Hey man, if you're walking, you failed your task." And just like as much as I do, in Panther Claw there is no failure. So immediately kills one of his own, kills Scarlet Claw, and then
like her in half, by the way.
Yeah. And then out of nowhere, these like goons, these grunts with violins start making music. I'm like, what? It's like, now you have my full attention in this movie. Confronts Cutie Honey, does a song and dance. Something about I've arrived and you're a great. I have no idea what the guy's talking about.
Again, it turns into this full musical moment, and it's completely ridiculous. But you're not going like, okay, this is taking me out of the movie. You're like, I gotta watch more. I got to know where the hell this is going. Like, this movie is offering everything at this point. So thus begins what we would call the final boss battle.
Yeah. So the fight is interesting, where this guy turns himself into a helicopter and tries to cut Cutie Honey down. Cutie Honey somehow figures out how to stop it and cuts him in half. Or am I remembering that correctly?
No. Well, she gets the upper hand at first. Right. The fight goes, she gets the upper hand, but then turns out, much like every anime villain, he has more tricks up his sleeve, and he has this, what he calls this darkness vortex attack.
Right. Oh, so that's right.
Because now, so while this fight is going on, Natsuko and Shinji are both infiltrating Panther Claw's headquarters. Shinji has found the chamber with all the missing women and uses this device that turns out to be a small version of Honey's eye system, and uses it to free these poor girls. So as Natsuko is climbing up, she looks down. She sees this parade of women running for their lives, and she's like, "What the hell's going on?" And she sees Shinji. He's like, "Hey, look what I did." So she realizes Panther Claw is behind the kidnapping the whole time. So they meet up. Meanwhile, Honey is fighting for her life. So when Black Claw does this attack, the entire sky turned pitch black. And what he starts doing, he starts spinning like a tornado, and all black mass that he put into the sky turns into this black like cyclone that starts chasing Honey. It turns into like a Roadrunner-esque sequence where she's booking at the street in the most cartoonish way possible, being chased by what looks like a Tasmanian devil.
But we get the cameo of the whole movie at this point.
So Honey gets tossed up in the air. She's spinning around, and it's thrown out a tornado and lands ass first onto this poor Toyota that's just sitting there. And we get a shot from inside the Toyota of her ass just landing on and breaking the glass, of which she's, fine. She turns around and says sorry to the occupant, and the occupant is none other than
Go Nagai himself,
who is ecstatic to see a beautiful woman land ass first on his car in proper Go Nagai fashion. So, and this man, I'm like, God, it really puts the timestamp on it, because Go's like 74 now. He was like in his 50s when this movie was made, and he looks so much younger. Like, you see now, like, he's gone gray, hair's still thick, still black, still, he's a man of his 50s, but he still looks like a young buck, still got it. I mean, at this time, he's cranking out works like Devil Lady and some new modding stuff. Like, he's just, and by the way, this guy never stops working. Fantastic cameo, much better than this same year's edition of a live action Devilman, which okay, that'll be for another time. So Honey and Black Claw take the fight back to the tower. Honey has now got her proverbial ass handed to her, and she's running out of energy. And so when you notice this, because her armor doesn't go away, but her hair reverts back to her normal Honey look. Like, it grows back. It's the long hair, and the little heart on her face disappears. So she's like at half power. Her Ultraman signal is blinking, realizing that she doesn't have much of a chance left. Black Claw resumes this attack, and he turns into this helicopter-looking thing, where his head is stationary, but his body is spinning like top. How it works, I don't know, because it defies logic. So he's about ready to cut Honey down and take her choker. when she gathers the last of her strength and grabs his sword that he's using, which stops him mid-air. And he realizes, again, Looney Tune logic, because he was spinning, and now that there's a point that's preventing the inertia from moving, his body now starts spinning, his head starts spinning, he starts getting dizzy. And you think that this is it. But she lets go, he falls, gets up, still gets her advantage, and gets on top of her and starts trying to forcibly remove that choker. In one last desperate attempt, she uses her final weapon. What, Arian?
The boomerang.
Which goes
the honey boomerang.
Right through his body. And you get that moment of in samurai movies when the duel's over and you find out who got cut, because there's that moment of realizing, oh, I've just been cut. And Black Hawk
so satisfying.
Duel's over.
It's so satisfying to see.
And not only that, but it is highlighted by the fact that his quartet violinists stop playing mid, they were like, oh man, again, cartoonish in its best way, fantastic. So Honey lifts to Sister Jill's lair, where they have a confrontation. Sister Jill says that she will, when she caught Natsuko, she will release her if Honey agrees to join with her so she can absorb her eye system and absorb her, she'll take over her android body and live an immortal life and be the ruler of the world as she means to be. Honey, not having the power that she needs, makes the deal so that way that at least Natsuko could go. Wait,
yeah, no, that's right.
Natsuko. I keep saying Ritsuko because I'm thinking of that freaking panda. Natsuko. But Natsuko says, no, you cannot do this. So there's this moment of Honey being completely absorbed by Sister Jill, which now we get these flashbacks in a memory. She's accepting the inevitable. We see her holding her father's hand. We see her as a little child. All of her memories, which she had lost. She didn't have any memories before her terrible accident that her father had to rebuild her body. But as she said earlier, I might forget those old memories, but I can always make new ones. But now she's tapping, because what Sister Jill's doing, she's tapping into those memories. Shinji shows up, seeing that there's dire straits, hands Natsuko a gun. Natsuko, being the crack shot that she is, he tells her, you need to hit her choker. That way we can save, because we can reactivate her eye system. So as Honey is being absorbed into Sister Jill, Natsuko does waiting. There's movement. She hits Honey anywhere else, she could kill her. And at the perfect second when Honey is still, fires a bullseye shot that hits the choker on the heart, opens it back up. Honey yells, Honey flash, and a beam of light just opens up. And we see everything now. We get Honey's whole backstory. We see Sister Jill realizing that she's being defeated from the inside, and that Panther Claw has failed. Light dims. Sister Jill is dead. Honey is restored to her original form. And everyone is happy. And she is overwhelmed to see her friends.
Everyone is happy. Everyone is happy.
Except for one person.
Our
poor butler.
Yeah.
Yes. Who is left to mourn the loss of his beautiful master. So the three leave Panther Claw's headquarters, which then just falls back into the earth, leaving Tokyo Tower perfect to where it was before it was shot on the ground. As if nothing has happened. Again, wonderful cartoon logic. Now, what to do? Natsuko does not work for the cops no more. Shinji got a story. And Honey has got her past back. So, what to do now? So, what does Shinji offer to do?
Let's open up a detective agency. But not just any
And
detective
that's
agency.
agency. A detective agency for what?
To catch cheating spouses.
Yes.
It's like, all right.
So we get this moment of Natsuko. Okay, yeah, I can. You see her finally open up. Like she smiles for the first time, which Honey is ecstatic about. It's like you're smiling. Her Natsuko's former underling come to discuss. It's like what the hell happened. They're describing everything, and Honey watches as far as her friends are just sitting there, kind of thinking like, well, like they're off. Am I just once again alone? To which Natsuko turns around and is like, Honey, come over here and hang out with your friends. Which we end on a beautiful fade out of her smiling, realizing that she got one thing that she wanted the whole time. Some friends, some love. Credits.
That's it, man.
That Hideaki Anno's Cutie Honey. Overall, Arian, what did you think of this film?
So when I watch this movie, I have almost no. I know who Cutie Honey is. Last week I didn't know. Last week I found out it was Go Nagai, and I should have already graded her. But I'm not familiar with the lore or the story of Cutie Honey. So I was watching this movie, and I'm like, oh, there's an autoism. There's an autoism. It was like, oh, I can watch this movie, and you can see where a lot of his tropes or whatever started, and how the dialogue, the camera angles, even the front flips that Cutie Honey does is very similar to the Ava Unit 2.
Which Ava Unit 2's kick is from what?
It's Kamen Rider, isn't it? Or no, it's Cutie Honey?
Yep. No, it's Kamen Rider.
Right.
The Rider kick.
It's very. If you don't know anything about Cutie Honey, I think this is a good way to start and then go from there, just like Guyver. If you love Anno, I think you're gonna like this movie a lot. If you want something different, this is also a very good movie to start. The way he uses the money on the budget, everything is on screen. There is no every dollar in this movie or every yen in this movie is on screen, and you see it. He does really good work with the money he has. I just was not expecting this movie. The first time I saw it,
it wasn't what you remembered, right?
It wasn't what I remember, because I was talking to you a little bit earlier. I'm like, I remember the opening being very different, and then you're telling me that the opening was actually toward the end. I'm like, whoa, like I've completely scrambled. So watching this, it was almost like watching it for the first time. I will say though that the grunts are the coolest grunts I've seen in a movie in a long time. Like Chris was talking about, these guys have like ski masks, and they have cowboy hats, and they're all black out, and they got golden guns. Like, these guys look really cool. What did you think, Chris?
The more I watch this movie, the more I love it.
Yeah.
When I watched it nearly 20 years ago, when I got my bootleg off of eBay, when you could do such things sometimes.
Hell yeah.
A very nicely made bootleg, but when I watched it, no HDTV at the time. Now I watch this on HDTV, and it is not glorious 16 by 8 widescreen. It's a 4.3, which I didn't realize it at the time, but it did not deter the quality of the film. When I first watched it, again, that opening sets the bar so high. I love Go Nagai's work. Devilman is amongst one of my favorite things he's ever made. I love Devilman to death, but I have such a soft spot for Cutie Honey because it's wildly different from Devilman, where Devilman's very serious, dark. This is the other side of Anno, because the other side of Go Nagai. Go Nagai did a lot of like comedy stuff before he really did Devilman, and this combines like a lot of the things he was doing at the time. Like he was asked by the publisher after, I believe, Cutie Honey came after Devilman and Mazinger. Like, look, we want you to do what is essentially now the magical girl trope. There really wasn't much magic. The trope really wasn't quite there yet. Because Cutie Honey, I believe, 76, I want to say. So they're like, look, he's like, because he tells his tale in the, I got it right here, the Cutie Honey collection from Seven Seas. So this collects the entire original run, which again does not have a real ending. Like, it just ends. Like, she never fights Panther Claw in this series, and it is larger and far more perverted than the movie is. And that was one of the asks of Go. They're like, he's like, we want Arian, we want something for teenagers, and we want dirty comedy. He's like, all right, those are all things I can do, and action, a lot of action.
I got you.
So, and this is the thing, man. Like, Go Nagai is here. And like manga creators are almost a bit different breed than their American writers and artist counterparts, because 9 times out of 10 they are both the writer and the artist. Now there are exceptions, like Fifth and North Star, their artist team. Attack on Titan is the same way. Go is the writer artist, and this man has conjured so much. Like he's I think besides Ishimori, the two of them are responsible for 95% of culture in Japan. Like much like, because we record today is the 90th anniversary of King Kong, and that movie inspired not one, not two, like 3 generations of filmmakers. Like that movie is held in such high regard. And of like classic movies, it's one of the few that people still go back and watch. Like, you're hard pressed to find someone watch Citizen Kane, but they'll watch King Kong. And that movie laid the groundwork for pop culture today. Go Nagai and Ishimori arguably did the same. Like, you could say Saku, started it with like Astro Boy and everything, but I would argue this. All people, Go Nagai really, he is the Old Testament of the of anime, especially robots and everything that I love in life. Where Anno was the disciple. He picked it up and he wrote the New Testament with Evangelion. And this is the combining of two. This is what I say, game recognizes game. This is what this movie is. Because this is an absolute love letter to all things Go Nagai, and especially Cutie Honey. The main difference is the fact that while the pretty humor is there, it's one we talked about. It's very PG-13, where many of the animes, especially the OVA that came out in the 90s, where you get a chance, watch New Cutie Honey, because it's actually a continuation from the original manga. Like, it picks up where it left off. Honey is fighting Panther Claw, and then she gets this adopted family. So much perversion in it. Her breasts are drawn as big as humanly possible, but she's also a very tall woman. Like, she's like, very Amazonian, and there's nothing but old school Dragon Ball style perverted humor time after time. Partial nudity here, a lot of no leads because you can't show boners on TV. A lot of that stuff. Here, not so much. This is much more family friendly, but it's still pain the essence, and which is I argue is the brilliance of Anno's take on this. On top of the fact that he also, much like, I would say this, it's like Guillermo del Toro taking Hellboy, and making it his own thing. Where if you read the comics and you watch Guillermo's movies, they are not one and the same with Hellboy. They're very things. But Guillermo's version is still just as much Hellboy, but all with Guillermo's gothic love and stuff that's in there, and it fits the character. Where Anno took this and essentially essentially made a live-action Looney Tunes cartoon that is also a wonderful homage to like all the Sentai shows he grew up with, because all of those, again, working with the budget that he has, realizing, oh, I can't really do expensive effects, so let's have the villains blow up. Let's just have ridiculous, transformation sequences. Let's have the fight scenes completely come out of like Kamen Rider. Like all of that is there, and it makes this a beautiful smorgasbord movie. Every time I watch it, I love it more and more.
I would recommend you go watch it and let us know what you think.
All right. So that is going to wrap it up for this edition of KAMEN KAIZERS. As always, if you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook under the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast, on Instagram at Kaiju Kingdom Podcast, on Twitter at the Kaiju Kingdom. And if you are hearing this on a podcast feed, we are under the Kaiju Kingdom RSS feed, so you subscribe there. And also check out our mother show, the Kaiju Kingdom Podcast, while you're at it. So, on that note, don't do it for us. For myself and
Arian Hinojosa.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Have a great
We'll be back next time with something awesome.